And take a look at this. We got some good news. Brazil says sit and spin. ECB approves a bill regulating the use of Bitcoin as payment. Let's dig into it. Voted on Tuesday evening in Brasilia, the country's capital. The new rules recognize Bitcoin as a digital representation of value that can be used as a means of payment and as an investment asset in the South. The bill applies broadly to a sector which it calls virtual assets, now only needs the president's signature to become law. It does not make Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency a legal tender in the country. The bill tasks the executive branch with selecting government bodies to oversee the market. The expectation is that the Central Bank of Brazil will be in charge when Bitcoin is used as payment, while the country's SEC will be the watchdog when it is used as an investment asset. Both the BCB and CVM, along with the Federal Tax Authority, help lawmakers craft the overhaul legislation. Let's go ahead and get down here. A big miss from Tuesday's vote was the rejection of a clause that sought to cut some state and federal taxes on purchases of Bitcoin mining machines. So they were looking for some tax incentives for miners. While the text was quite restrictive, the benefit would only apply to operations using renewable energy sources. It was apparently not enough to be approved. So that kind of similar to the moratorium, except you can mine, there's just no tax incentives there. Now let's go into this piece. Once passed into law, Brazilians can use Bitcoin as a payment method, while digital assets will be recognized as an investment asset class, as securities, as we've been saying for months and months and years and years. Under the bill, exchanges are required, and this is a good thing, to observe specific rules to be allowed access to the Brazilian market. For example, processes to segregate users' funds, so assets from liabilities. The rules also require service providers to gain approval at the federal level. So we do have some other things coming into play with the checks and balances and how everything does need to go through the federal government in Brazil. And we also have this change of power going on. As we can see, it's going to need the signature of the president. The election result is marred in controversy with Bolsonaro supporters alleging electoral fraud. You guys have probably seen those videos all over the place. Earlier this year, before winning the election, Da Silva acknowledged the expansion of cryptocurrencies in Brazil to local media. He added that a framework needs to be in place to harmonize domestic practices with international standards, particularly in respect of nefarious activities. So this is the establishment statement regarding Bitcoin or crypto. So we get that Lula da Silva is, we want to protect against money laundering and terrorism, etc. Well, they got some crazy things going on in the streets they might want to keep an eye on rather than that. And kind of going back, a little background knowledge on what's been going on in Brazil. This from Samuel Juan at Crypto Slate from April 14th. So we saw the goal of the bill was to establish an agency to oversee cryptocurrency. And as we get here, now at this time, this was just a few months ago, and we had Honduras announced it would accept Bitcoin as legal tender in the Honduras Prospera Special Economic Zone. The hub represents a new model for economic development, which intends to attract capital and innovation to the region. Now, why Latin America and South America? Many Latin American countries suffer from runaway inflation. The prime example being Venezuela, which saw a 350,000% peak in 2019. However, inflation has been trending down over the last 12 months, dropping from 2,940% in April to 284% in March. Bitcoin is gaining ground as a movement to democratize finance. And when faced with difficult living conditions, as often seen in Latin America, it's no wonder locals seek alternatives to the status quo. Check your monetary privilege, you ECB douchebags.
Oh man!
What were your thoughts?
Love it!
Oh
love
man!
it! Love it!
Oh man!
Let's go back before we throw Nico Jones on the case. First and foremost, as I tweeted this morning on the Simply Bitcoin Twitter account, man, the ECB calling Bitcoin irrelevant is just pure cope and projection. We know, at least as Bitcoiners, that Bitcoin makes central banks irrelevant, and they are on the road to irrelevant. So as we've been covering on the show for a long time, they are obviously projecting what they know to be true about themselves. I think Nico said that almost on every single show that we talk about this. But again, I've been saying this on the show all the time as well. The low-hanging fruit arguments that they use, they will continue to use. What was their arguments for this? Bitcoin won't be payments, maybe an investment, it's energy wasteful. But my question is a very simple one. If Bitcoin is so irrelevant, then why do you feel the need to write an article denouncing it, guys? It's obviously that they're scared that Bitcoin has taken away their power. It's taken away the power of the money printer, and they have to do whatever they can to dissuade the masses out there from becoming Bitcoiners, because Bitcoiners eat their lunch. And I love that you added the Brazil news on top of the ECB trying to dunk on Bitcoin, because this is just further proof that Bitcoin is not becoming irrelevant. It is becoming more relevant in time every single day, block by block. More people are adopting Bitcoin. More nations will adopt Bitcoin. And it's only a matter of time until everyone becomes a Bitcoiner. So, man, ECB, Chrissy, I'm sorry, babe, better luck next time. We will continue to stack. We will continue to spread that Bitcoin signal. And Bitcoin is going to take over the world. It's only a matter of time, guys. Bitcoin is here and they can't stop it. All they can do is put words on a paper to try to dissuade people from putting their savings, their capital, their life's work behind Bitcoin. We are here doing our best to push that signal every single day, and you guys are as well. So continue to do this, guys, because they are afraid.
And I think that this is just a really great example of that. And they've been doing this for a minute now. The way that they describe Bitcoin also, as Bitcoin is the so-called private money. It's not controlled by the public. Like, what do you think sounds more private to you? Something that, this elite bureaucratic group in DC or the head of anywhere of the central banks gets to dictate the monetary policy behind closed doors, or Bitcoin's monetary policy is set in stone. It's public. Anybody could verify the supply anytime they want. They could just have it run their own node. In fact, anybody could issue more Bitcoin if they're willing to invest in the infrastructure to mine it. Right. So what sounds more public and what sounds more private to you? But again, they're projecting onto us what it is they believe they are themselves. And I just think that this is desperation. I think of the meme, it's afraid from Starship Troopers. That's what I'm visualizing. When I saw that, I'm like, they're terrified. This is free publicity. They're literally shining the light on what's going on. And I fundamentally believe it's because they're scared. And, the fact is that Bitcoin just has better incentives than anything that they can come up with. Central bank digital currencies don't solve the inflation problem. They don't solve the debasement problem. And they never talk about that, right? They always talk about the more efficient means of payment and this and this and that, but they never talk about the fact that Bitcoin is just better. Your purchasing power isn't going to be inflated away. In fact, it's going to increase over time, and they can't match that. They're always going to want to control it, and they're always going to want to debase it. And that's just the reality. Look, I like the Brazil news. I think it's cool. But I am very wary of governments, right? I think on a smaller scale level, right? It's not so much about what the government of Brazil allows the Brazilian people to do. It's about whether individuals in Brazil are adopting Bitcoin. And that's a very, very different question. But I do think it's a good headline, right? Like, I think it's a great headline, right? It's like, Brazil to allow payments, like Bitcoin doesn't need anybody to allow it. Like, it is peer to peer, right? It's a matter of, will vendors accept it? Is the guy on the street, selling his tacos on the street or whatever, is he accepting Bitcoin? Like, that is how you actually change things, right? It's about individuals adopting Bitcoin. It's about individuals accepting Bitcoin. And that is how, that's how you effectuate change, right? But I think it's bullish news overall, and bullish news coming out of the ECB. I'm smelling that desperation, man. I'm smelling it from a mile away, and they continue to get ratioed.